economy is a developed export-oriented economy supported by wood, hydropower, and iron ore. These are the fundamental resources of a trade-oriented economy. Motor cars, telecommunication, premises, industrial machinery, precision equipment, chemical products, household goods, and appliance, forestry, iron, steel are among of the major industries. Sweden's economy is competitive and highly liberalist with an open market economy. The great majority of the Swedish business are privately held and market-oriented with a substantial welfare state that includes transfer payment amounting to up 3/5 of GDP.
Hi everyone. Next, I'm going to touch a bit about the background. I believe everyone are familiar with IKEA, Volvo, and H&M. These three known brands are originally from Sweden. Here are some background of Sweden. As you can see on the map, Sweden is one of the European countries located next to Finland and Norway as its neighboring countries. It also gained a strategic location along Danish Strait, linking Baltic and North Seas. Sweden also considered as developed country. Developed countries are judged by country's income per capita. If the country has high GDP per capita, can be recognized as developed. Developed countries also technically and technologically advanced economy with high human development index, which quantifies each country's high income per capita, modern infrastructure, developed own industrial production, level of education, high standard of living, and good healthcare.
Hello, my name is Gary Z. I'm going to talk about demand of housing in Sweden. Okay, so firstly, rental law scheme went under encounter empowerment law, which limit empowerment over because the subsidy dependence individual from the purchasing their own business. Okay, so the next, the Swedes who own their home are actually more by those who live in rental, according to the same government research. Moreover, community service properties benefit from long contracts, typically with the stable government-funded tenants. Okay, so the tenant issue are long-term in the business, but they may also lead to more sell-less big deal. The giving property manager and additional option, international buyer are increasingly more interested in this region, which is helping to raise property value. The plan are one example of how countries are planning for the future in the wake of the pandemic that has been taken a significant human. So the increasing the rate of the commercial residential conversion that might help relieve the state, a strategy that could be adopted in the other nation with housing shortage in specific location. Overview housing policy in Sweden. So the 1994, the housing market perception has shifted as a result of the crisis. The subsidies to public housing were progressively phased off. So the result in the long-term increasing in the cost of homes and land. Okay, so the next is a 205, the definition of welfare. I shifted dramatically. So the category welfare come to be seen as a short-term aim that will prepare the way of free market economy rather than the integrated component of society. Okay, so the 211. So the condition for each housing subsidies we guided in the 197. The elemental channels household over the age of 28 and the increases the amount of available floor space as well as the maximum income permitted. So between the 190 and the 198, the average rate jumped by the 400%, raising from the already 17.18% of a single household disposable income of 30%. Issue and challenge of housing in Sweden. In the 270, the Sweden GDP increased by about the 3 years on years. The Sweden annual GDP growth is indicated to decrease gradually. So in the 220, according to the International Monetary Fund IMF 270, which is domestic demand is a sustained growth, which is added by the significant rise in the investment, notability in the additional development. So the Swedish housing market, according to the IMF, has serious fundamental issue about the fundamental issue. Construction price after owing to the combination of complicated construction rules and lack of the competition in the industry. So from this case, in turn, are mostly attributed to its municipal, the land sale planning, and the approval procedure. So which have resulted in housing supply shortage in 255 of the 290 municipalities. In addition to the structural issue is the result of cyclical variable that enters the rate decline and the positive change in the house income. So the Swedish housing market is overpriced. Therefore, the opinion on the magnitude of the overpricing differ significantly.
Experience has produced a variety of lessons. The delayed housing bubble demonstrates the danger of unregulated real estate market. Sweden experience with mass building by the government has shown that it is possible to eliminate homelessness to a considerable extent. Unpredictable governmental subsidies for luxury homes, on the other hand, can lead to housing bubble. Finally, we can see how welfare may work in two ways in Sweden. First, in a more socialist approach, where the state subsidizes and regulate all housing. For development country, which in Turkey, future analysis on housing market should be improved by the government in aspect of housing policy, housing price, and housing demand in order to design an effective affordability policies for all income group in the Turkey. However, designing effective.
Next, some short background about Turkey. Turkey, known as an ancient nation full of history, where Emperor Constantine the Great dedicated Constantinople as new Rome and became center of government in 300 AD. Then Islam dominated by the Ottoman Empire for 600 years until First World War. And after that, Mustafa Kemal, known as Atatürk, established Republic of Turkey in 1923. Now Turkey is a member of state of NATO, OECD, and other organizations. From the map, Turkey located on the Anatolian Peninsula in Western Asia. Turkey also located between continents of Europe and Asia. It borders, besides Armenia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, Greece, Iraq, and Syria. Turkey's largest city is Istanbul, and its capital is Ankara, with a population of 83.2 million in 2020.
Okay, so now let's talk about the housing policies in Turkey country. So what is housing policies? Housing policies are the statements of a course of action stated by the government to address particular housing problems. It will usually consist of the goal of a state to be achieved within a particular period on the strategies to achieve that goal. So, what is the objective of housing policies in Turkey country? Number one, to ensure the construction of enough housing units to prevent any social unrest or discontent. Number two is to solve the housing problem of low and middle income groups. And the number three is to provide adequate and quality housing with a comprehensive facilities and a conducive environment. So probably Turkey country have a high rates of population increase and of migration from the rural to the urban areas. The demand for housing is also high, especially low-income groups. As a result, the constructions of social housing and meeting the shelter needs of the low-income groups become a preferential target. So, there are 5 major periods beginning from the proclamation of the Republic of Turkey in 1923 to the current era. In this sense, the housing provision policies were developed by both which are the state and private entrepreneurs. So these major periods are the periods between 1945 until 1965. The condominium law encouraged the demolitions of the single-family housing units to build multi-family apartments blocks in their places. Number 2 is the periods between 1965 until 1984. Housing policies of Turkey is the mass housing law which aimed to encourage large-scale and prefabricated housing, and also the squatter law that aimed to prevent, demolish or rehabilitate squatter settlements which had been widely spread in urban areas. And the last one is the periods between 1984 until 2000 and the periods in the year 2000 and after. So in these periods, housing policies Turkey is the Housing Development Administration, which is TOKİ. So TOKİ is aimed on reducing uneven regional distribution and providing a balanced allocation of housing investment. So, Turkey's Housing Development Administration was established in 1984 to address the country's public housing issues. Turkey is operating under the office of the Prime Minister. It provides low and middle income groups with quality, safe, affordable housing and social facilities. Turkey also conducts urban renewal projects in partnership with the local administration to rehabilitate low quality and unlicensed housing and address urban transformation in residential areas with high earthquake risk. Turkey's social housing programs targets low and middle income people who cannot own a housing unit under the existing market conditions. Besides, Turkey housing production also has divided into the several project categories: low and poverty level income groups, slums transformation project, disaster housing applications, and agriculture and village projects. Turkey also serves as a virtual umbrella for Turkey's housing sector, serving as guide, monitor, and educator. Prioritizing its target group's needs, Turkey's ongoing commitment is to design projects that respond to the social needs of Turkey's citizens and the development of projects that provide comfortable living space with consideration of social facilities, environmental regulations, and aesthetics.
The best types of Turkey house. We have 5, which is, first is Ottoman townhouse. Tropical Ottoman house are some of the most historic types of Turkey house. Second is Yali. Yali is the one of the most exclusive types of Turkey home. Third is Esap Evla. Wooden house like this in Eden Platon are one of tropical types of Turkey house in the Black Sea region. Fourth is seaside villa. This is one familiar of types of Turkey house that we can find in Greece or Italy. The last one is apartment. Apartment are one of the best types of Turkey house for someone looking for a lower maintenance holiday home. Demand and supplies of housing in Turkey 2019 and 2020. Home demand increased 50% in Turkey after public lenders unveiled mortgage loans at historical low interest rates to help stimulate the economy following the coronavirus epidemic. A grace period of up to 12 months. The bank say where the lower equity down, payment rate starting at 10% will be applied for the use of the financial. Residential real estate market. Over 1 million residential property was sold in Turkey between January 2020 and August 2020. The property residentials increased, which is 54.2%. And the units that residential sold is 170,408 units. Artificial price hike cold trade sale. Mortgage house increase, which is 40.40%. And then pandemic impacts was hardly felt in April with property sale recording a 55.5% year-on-year decrease. There are 1.35 million housing units were sold in the country in the 2019, while up 45,500 houses were owned by foreigners, which is just like Istanbul, Busan, and Yalova. The supply over limited demand for housing admin at upper middle and upper income group continue to pressure of price. Most demand for the housing in Istanbul is concentrated in the middle income group, for which there is insufficient supply of housing. Government introduced inclusive and legal admins participate for foreigner. The market continued to maintain its contributions, emphasizing the upward trend in sales to foreign investors. Through the housing index in Turkey, there are increase, which is September 140.16 and then August 130.10. The housing index in Turkey arranged 26.2 index from 2010 until 2019.
There are several issues and challenges that have been faced by the housing market in Turkey. Number one is aspect of housing affordability. In Turkey, the increasing of housing price has made access to affordable housing more difficult, especially for the low-income groups and middle-income groups. Number two, in aspect of housing price. In the Turkey country, people from the industry reckon that local production might result in a 15% to 20% decline in construction materials, which in return can bring down home prices in the medium to longer term. Number three is housing demand. State-owned lenders start to provide cheap loans, which eventually give a boost to demand for homes. And the last one is the impact from the pandemic of COVID-19. The COVID-19 epidemic has hit the housing industry especially hard. Containment measures in many countries involve total or partial construction site shutdowns, and the association income and revenue losses for households and business harm the outlook for the various segments of the property market, depending on the timing and stringency of confinement as well as the severity of the public health crisis, which vary by the country. So based on the study housing market in developing country, which is Turkey, government already have the initiatives for rescue and solve housing sector problem in Turkey. For example, for the construction of the architects, they can help by finding and implementing solution by producing more affordable and sustainable housing, so it can reduce the running costs without increasing the investment cost of the housing. Besides, government also need to focus on declining in inflation to target for the fall in interest rates on the housing market loans, as well as lengthening the maturity of loans. So by this way, it can give a high prospect for an increase in the availability of quality housing to the low-income group and middle-income groups that had previously only been available to upper and upper middle-income groups.
So, in conclusion, Sweden's experience has produced a variety of lessons. The delayed house bubble demonstrates the dangers of unregulated real estate market. Sweden's experience with mass building by the government has shown that it is possible to eliminate homeless to a considerable extent. Unpredictable governmental subsidies for luxury homes, on the other hand, can lead off housing bubble. Finally, we can see how welfare may work in two ways in Sweden. First, in a more specialist approach where the state subsidize and regulate all housing. For developing country, which in Turkey, further analysis of housing market should be improved by the governments in aspect, housing policy, housing price, and housing demand in order to design an effective affordability policies in all income groups in Turkey. However, designing effective housing affordability price is depend upon the availability of reliable database on housing and household. Last but not least, analysis of housing market for both countries show that they rank point income and also have several different in aspect of price, demand, and supply. Both countries are focused on priority to set up the resident for all type of income group, and initiatives still continue to create new residential area and to increase the quality of housing market.